Just one moment. Where's Mr. Foley? All right, could somebody have Mr. Foley come forward, please? Come in.
I know he's with the mom right now. Well, actually, one of us, he's posting his book club this month. She does like once a year. So he said that to me. So our kids, I don't know how old they're going. Either me or him is going to focus at midnight tonight from Melissa and David. And then we had to enlist our neighbors to get them.
All right, are you ready? Court is calling 2021 CR 8893, State of Texas versus Jessica Briones. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Michelle Hayden, Brittany Mitchell, and Michael Villarreal for the state.
For the defense?
John Foley, Your Honor, on behalf of Ms. Briones, she's present in the courtroom.
Are both parties ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we can bring them in.
All right, for the jury.
All right, everyone, please be seated. I hope everyone is having a good start to their morning. All right, State, I believe you had the witness under question. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Go back to the interview. Do you recall how long the defendant said that she had left the room to go get her pants on the night before the hospitalization of Olivia?
10 seconds.
Do you recall that she said she at one point thought that Olivia had thrown something?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall her saying that she did not think Olivia had fallen?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part.
She did not think Olivia had fallen. I want to talk about the coffee table. What did Jessica say happened to the coffee table?
That it just fallen apart. It was just old. She had tried to put it back together, but
Did she say something about loose screws?
yes, ma'am.
And how many times did you say that it had broken? More than one?
Yeah, more than once, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall her saying that it broke a long time ago?
Yes, ma'am.
Due to the loose screws?
Yes, ma'am.
And that it had just broke again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 51. Does that appear to be a broken coffee table?
It looks like the top of a coffee table. Yes, ma'am.
And where are the legs?
I don't think they're in the picture. I think. And the couch is I don't know what to call it, the things where the legs go on under the
Okay,
table.
okay, oh, okay, so you see the brackets of the legs on the
Yes, ma'am.
couch.
59.
Okay, there we go. Okay, well, I will come back to that.
Okay, do you recall the defendant saying that after she had put Olivia in timeout, that she was also tired, so she lay down and she went to sleep,
Yes, ma'am.
and that she woke up in the morning around 9:30 or 10?
Yes, ma'am.
You recall around 16:44, after she said she woke up at 9:30 or 10, she said initially a couple minutes later, paused, then said maybe an hour later, I heard vomiting.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall her saying that she had slammed Olivia's arm into the door on Friday?
Yes, sir. The apartment front door. Yes, ma'am.
And she seemed surprised that somehow it looked more swollen on Tuesday.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall earlier in the interview, she referred to Olivia being in a really good mood the day before?
Yes, ma'am.
But then later, after over an hour of speaking, she changed that to actually she was sleepy all day, Saturday, Sunday,
Yes, ma'am.
and the day before was also Monday.
Yes, sir.
Now, she described two different falls from that chair, didn't she? One the Friday
from-
before,
Yeah, the Friday before.
and then one in her old apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
And she said the fall that happened at her old apartment, she didn't take her to the doctor then either,
Yes, ma'am.
but she said she knew she should have,
Yes, ma'am.
but she still didn't when she fell the Friday before. either.
Yes, ma'am.
Multiple times in this interview, she indicated that whenever she leaves Olivia somewhere, she waits for her for whenever she returns.
Yes, ma'am.
And she didn't indicate in any way that Olivia had moved from before her location, before she went to the Bolero and when she returned.
Yes, ma'am.
And in fact, you asked her if Olivia could have caused these injuries to herself, and she answered no, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Throughout this interview, you were asking her about her injury, Olivia's injuries, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What was her reaction every time the collapse lung came in?
She seemed surprised. Like, that's the one that surprised her.
So of all the injuries, that is the one that surprised
Yes,
me the
ma'am.
most, right?
Object, judge, speculation. She doesn't know, he doesn't know what surprised her the most.
All right, that'll be overruled.
Now, later in the interview, around 17:49, right before the first time you walked out. Do you recall asking her what happened and her saying, I didn't do anything to her that hasn't happened before?
Yes, ma'am.
That's actually different than saying she doesn't know what happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Because essentially she's admitting that something happened and she just doesn't understand. why.
Objection, Judge. The video speaks for itself.
That'll be overruled.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall the defendant discussing a time when Olivia had hit her bed frame and she thought she may have had a concussion?
Yes, ma'am.
And she actually took her to a primary pediatrician who said that is significant and you need to go to the hospital, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But she didn't take her to the hospital, did she?
No, she didn't.
And part of the reason for going against the office's wishes of taking Olivia to the ER was because she was concerned they would ask her why she waited so long.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall her talking, the same day that that Olivia had hit her mouth on the bathtub? Do you recall Jessica talking about that same day she hit a bench at a Best Buy?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall her seeming concerned that there was some man there who was gonna think she was a bad mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall her stating that when Olivia hit the back of her head that Friday before, that her eye had looked swollen?
Yes, ma'am.
And she stated that a doctor had told her that that was a normal thing to happen.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But she wasn't able to give you the name of the doctor, right?
No.
And then she kind of said, well, I read it myself.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall her saying that she went to bed around 2 or 3 a.m. on the Sunday night before?
Yes, ma'am.
So if there was an indication that she was up at 2 or 3 o'clock a.m. The day of Olivia's hospitalization, that would be consistent with
Object.
when she went to bed before.
Object to counsel testifying, Judge, and also facts not in evidence.
That'll be overruled.
Yes, ma'am.
Now earlier, or well, all throughout the interview, she said that the night before Olivia was upset, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that she put her in timeout even though she hadn't done anything wrong.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she say how quickly Olivia fell asleep?
It was fairly quickly from my memory. I can't remember the exact time. I want to say like maybe 10 minutes, but it was pretty quickly.
And then other parts of the interview, she said she went to Valero the morning of because Olivia was asleep to get that money order,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So did she say why she didn't go ahead and get the money order when Olivia fell asleep?
I don't recall, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Did she say why, that instead of going to get the money order that she was planning to do, that she decided to reorganize her furniture and wait until the morning to get the money order?
No.
Did she say why she decided to throw out a carpet on Saturday morning?
No, ma'am.
She said that she would sometimes leave Olivia alone for, how long do you remember?
No, I don't. But yeah, I do remember what you're talking about. Yes, ma'am.
Well, did she ever mention that Olivia would try to leave the apartment and go look for her?
No, ma'am.
And do you recall Jessica talking about how she would swing Olivia in her arms in the bathroom and bump her head?
Yes, ma'am.
And that she did, and she said that she did this multiple times, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And around the 17, 18 mark, at one point she said the bathroom happened the week before.
Yes, ma'am.
But then she said, oh, no, wait, that was a long time ago.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
At some point in the interview, did she tell you about something in her life that was frustrating her?
When she was talking about the, well, I mean, the way I remember, what I remember is the, pollution, politics, those kind of things.
Did she ever discuss the father of Olivia?
No, she didn't want to talk about the father.
So you don't recall her saying that her only frustration in her life was about Olivia's father?
I don't recall. I just remember she reacted when I tried to talk about the father, because I honestly forgot about him until about that point.
But she said that she hadn't spoken, or Olivia hadn't spoken to him at all in her entire life, correct?
Yes, sir. It wasn't in their life.
So if the father was a frustration, then Olivia would be the closest connection to that, correct?
That's the way I interpreted it. Yes, ma'am.
And she also said that she was scared about the father getting custody of Olivia too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that the only reason that she did not give up Olivia for adoption was because she didn't want him to get custody of her.
That's correct.
And even around the 1725 mark, she said, ideally, that Olivia would have gone off to live somewhere far away, safe from both her and the father.
Yes, she did say that.
Now, also around the 1735 mark, do you recall asking her again what happened and her having a long pause?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you think? Did you think she was about to say something? when she
Yes.
had that long pause?
Yes, I did.
Objection, Judge, speculation and what does, and relevance.
Sustained.
We found the photo. Okay, State's Exhibit 55 is what I'm going to show you. What is that?
Those look like coffee table legs.
Okay. Can you, are they intact? Are they broken? What is their condition?
It looks like they're broken. Yes, ma'am.
Are they broken where the screws are?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, not where the screws are, but by the side of the screws, I guess. is what
Okay,
I'm
so
saying.
does it look like this coffee table came apart because of loose screws?
No, ma'am. The screws are in there.
I'll pass the witness.
Defense,
I'm sorry.
defense, you may proceed.
Oh, did you pass? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Just a couple of questions, Detective Barnes, the coffee table, I'm sorry. Detective Waters, I was looking at my notes. Detective Barnes took the legs for the coffee table, correct?
I don't know, sir.
You don't know?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know, I mean, obviously I took a picture, but I'm assuming we collected them, but I couldn't tell you for sure, sir.
Okay, and do you know if any DNA testing was done on the legs for the coffee?
No, sir.
Okay. Jessica did not say that she slammed the door on Olivia's arm. She said she closed the door on her arm, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and she also said that Olivia was sleepy Saturday and Sunday and in a good mood Monday, right? Is
Yes, sir.
there anything inconsistent about that? Can one be sleepy on Saturday, sleepy on Sunday, and in a good mood Monday?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the state asked you if Olivia ever mentioned that, sorry, if Jessica ever mentioned that Olivia would leave the apartment when Jessica was gone. That is, if Jessica, Jessica would occasionally leave the apartment and leave Olivia there, right?
Yes, sir.
She said that.
She did say that, yes, sir.
And the state asked you, well, did she ever mention that Olivia would leave the apartment to look for her? Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And you said, no, she never
No.
mentioned that.
No, I mean, yeah, yes, she never mentioned that.
She never mentioned that.
Yes,
But if Jessica wasn't there, she wouldn't know if Olivia left the apartment, right?
Objection calls for speculation.
That'll be sustained.
Judge, this is the exact same question they asked, except,
The objection is sustained to speculation.
did if Jessica was not there on September 5th of 2017, because she had left the apartment to go buy a money order, and Olivia left the apartment while she was gone, Jessica would not know, correct, that she had left the apartment.
yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if Olivia left the apartment and fell down the stairs and then got back up during a lucid moment and went back into the apartment and got back into bed, Jessica would have no way of knowing that, correct?
Objection speculation.
That will be sustained.
Jessica didn't say that that the only reason she didn't give up Olivia for adoption was because she thought Corey would get custody. She said that Corey said he'd rather see Olivia dead than raised by someone else. correct?
Corey's the father?
I'm sorry.
Corey's the father?
The father.
Oh,
right.
yes, yes, sir.
That's right. She didn't say Corey because
Yes.
she didn't give you the name.
Yes, sir.
She just said that the father said that he would rather see Olivia dead than raised by someone else.
Yes, sir.
And she was afraid that something would happen to Olivia if she gave her up.
She did express that, yes, sir.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
State.
Detective Juarez, are you aware that all of Corey's other kids are alive and healthy?
That's a good thing.
Or no?
No, I'm sorry.
Did he say he's not aware?
No other questions.
All right, defense.
Even if Corey's other kids by other women are still alive, that doesn't mean that he didn't threaten Jessica or say that he would rather see his kid dead than raised by someone else, correct?
I mean, that's what she told me, so I would have to say, yeah.
Okay. And pass the witness, Judge.
No further questions.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Excuse from the state.
Subject to recall, Judge.
All right, as you know, the rule has been invoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone except for attorneys for the state and defense. Just make sure you're available if someone decides to recall you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Defense, call your next witness.
Oh, Tara Whittle, Judge.
If you'll come take a seat here, please. Right here. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand. If you'll make sure you keep your voice up, if you could state your name for the record and spell it, please.
Tara Whittle, TARAWHITTLE.
Defense.
And Ms. Whittle, what is your occupation?
I am a natural resource manager for the state of Texas, General Land Office.
Okay, and how long have you done that?
I've been with the GLO since July 2015. I took my new position in Austin in April of this year.
And where'd you go to school?
University of Texas, San Antonio,
And when was that?
2004 to 2008.
Is that the same time that Jessica went to school there?
We overlapped, yes.
And did you meet Jessica at UTSA?
No, sir, I did not.
How did you meet her?
We had a lot of mutual friends and we were pregnant at the same time. I saw her on Facebook, all of the pregnancy updates. And so I asked my husband, who is one of those mutual friends, who is this person who I feel like I should know, but I don't. And he explained that it was Jessica Briones, and I decided to befriend her because we were both pregnant.
Okay, and so y'all became friends, yes?
Yes, sir.
And was that while she was still pregnant? While y'all were both still pregnant?
I was still pregnant. I believe she had already given birth.
Okay, and how close are your children in terms of age?
I don't remember Olivia's exact birth date. I believe she gave birth while I was on my baby moon, so just by a few months.
Okay, and did you have occasion, well, first off, did you ever meet Olivia?
Yes, multiple times.
Okay, and were you still living in San Antonio at the time, when you first met her?
No, I was living in Washington, DC.
Did you come back to San Antonio occasionally?
Yes, we have family here and friends, so we visited pretty often.
Okay, and did your daughter's, sorry, your child is a girl, correct?
Yes.
What's her name?
Maribel? Maribel?
And can you spell that for the court?
Yeah. Maribel.
Thank you. And did Maribel and Olivia play together?
Yes, they did several times.
Okay, and did you have occasion to go, where would you see Jessica and Olivia?
We visited at her apartment.
Okay, did you ever see her outside of the apartment?
Only once when we took Jessica to the hospital because she was very ill. But Jessica didn't have a car and I only had the one car seat, so it was difficult to take the girls out together.
Okay, and so you would see her at her apartment. Did you how long, what sort of period of time would y'all visit?
I would say the visits were probably between half an hour to 2 hours most of the time. I couldn't give you exacts. And it would have been 2013, 2014 up until 2016.
Okay, and so up until the year before Olivia died, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did you during that time ever have occasion, did you ever see Jessica discipline Olivia?
No, other than perhaps just saying, don't do that.
Okay,
But nothing beyond that.
okay, so you never saw her physically discipline her?
No, never.
Do you know if she physically disciplined her?
I never saw it, but we would talk about discipline and being a parent at the same time. And we were both proponents of gentle parenting or attachment parenting, which is working with the kids on their own level, respecting them and not doing physical discipline.
Okay. Did Jessica ever talk to you about trying out pinching Olivia's ears as a form of discipline?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Did y'all ever talk about spanking?
Not that I recall. I mean, we may have, and it would have been, we don't do corporeal punishment.
And then did right after this incident happened, September 5th of 2017. First off, were you in San Antonio at that time?
No, I was working for the state on, that was before Hurricane Harvey, but we were ramping up for hurricane season and preparing.
Okay. And as a biologist, you were preparing.
Yes. So while I'm a biologist by training, I'm a natural resource manager. So when storms would come and hit the coast, the general land office comes in and cleans up the beaches and the rivers from public hazards.
I see. Okay. And y'all were preparing for that, right?
Yes, my boss would be very upset with me. I don't remember when Hurricane Harvey was exactly, but we were either preparing for the hurricane or I was working on the hurricane. We were very busy.
And who told you about what happened to Olivia?
I don't remember exactly. I believe it was one of our mutual friends. He reached out and shared a news article.
Okay. And did you then contact Jessica?
I may have. I know I contacted the detective on the case.
And so do you remember which detective?
Off the top of my head, no, sir, I do not.
His name Barnes ring a bell?
Possibly.
Was it a male or female?
I'm so sorry. I can't remember. It was whoever was, I may have just called the San Antonio police and said I may possibly had information.
Okay. And what kind of information?
I just wanted to share everything I knew. I mean, there was a child dead. So I gave my chat history from Facebook over to the detective. I gave them Olivia's father's name. And I honestly don't remember. I think I just gave them, him or her, a lot of information.
Okay. And did the DA's office, in this case, did an investigator from the DA's office ever reach out to you on this case?
No, sir.
Did an attorney from the DA's office ever reach out to you on this case?
The first time I heard anything from other than you was during an interview with prosecution just a few months ago.
I'm sorry, was what?
An interview with prosecution a few months ago.
Okay.
Otherwise, I've only ever spoken to that detective the one time and to you.
And was that a telephone interview with prosecution?
No, I believe that was Zoom.
Zoom.
Yes.
Okay. Where are you living now, by the way?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
And were you in Austin at the time of this interview?
Yes.
Okay. And did the state ask you the same questions that I've been asking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you give them the same answers?
Yes, sir. To the best of my memory and ability.
Okay. Do you believe that that Jessica was a loving parent to Olivia?
Absolutely. Olivia was her world.
Was her world? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir. Absolutely her world.
Did she you said you sent some pictures to the investigators, is that right? Or to the prosecution?
Yes, I sent over the same message history I'd sent the detective back years ago. And to both prosecution and defense. And then prosecution asked for the pictures. And so I sent the pictures also.
Okay. And Judge, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
This morning, we had the opportunity, well, let me ask you this. I'm showing you what's marked as Defendant's Exhibit 22. And it states Tara Whittle pics on there. Do you recognize this?
Yes, sir.
And what is it?
It's the pictures that I from that message history.
Okay, this is a DVD, correct?
Yes, or a
This-
CD disc. Yes.
Okay, and it has pictures on it
Yes, sir.
that you sent to both the prosecution and to the defense?
Yes, sir.
And how do you know that?
You showed me those this morning and I confirmed they are the pictures from that message history that I sent.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what all's on there, but.
Judge, we offer defendants, 22.
Any objection?
No objection, as long as it is what I think it is. Haven't had a chance to look at it.
Are there, do you want to look at the photos before?
I mean, maybe just before they're published,
All right, I think defense, are you planning on publishing it
I'm
now?
about to publish them, yeah.
we'll just put them on, we won't put your screen.
Right. Is that all right, Judge?
Yes. You can probably just do the thumbnails, so you don't have to put them in.
No objection.
All right, then, defense exhibit number 22 is admitted without objection.
Thank you, Judge. Sorry, if I could have 1 second, Judge. Did you ever see Olivia wearing hats?
I may have, but nothing that really strikes my memory.
Okay, and was she always wearing hats, I guess would be the.
No,
Did you ever see Olivia with any unusual bruises?
nothing that came to mind. I mean, I have a daughter the same age who sometimes has bruises, but nothing that ever concerned me or said or struck out. I would have said something if I had.
Okay. And I'm showing you some of the photos here from Defendant's Exhibit 22. What does that a photo appear to be?
That's a Jessica carrying Olivia in a what's called a back wrap and woven wrap
Did she did she carry her a lot?
all the time.
Yeah. This is a second photo on Defendant's 22. Is that just another? view of
Yes, we both carried our children. We baby wore and we would talk with each other about how exciting it was when we mastered a new carry or especially with the back carries. Those are tricky.
Did you take these photos, by the way, or are these, I guess this one looks like a mirror.
Right. No, Jessica sent these to me.
Oh, I see. Okay. And I'm just gonna scroll through these real quick. That looks like a different wrap that she carried her in, is that right?
Yes.
Did Olivia, several people have testified that she seemed to be a very smart child. Did you get that impression?
She was a toddler. She was. I remember she brought a book over once and plunked down in my lap, and that way that toddlers do, just read to me.
Okay. And did she, what is that picture of?
That was one of Olivia's favorite wraps at the time. And what you do is you would trade them for different wraps to find one that would work better for your child or work better for you. Because as they get heavy, it gets harder to carry them. And Jess was thinking about trading that one. And when she set it out to take pictures, Olivia started feeding the bird on it.
Okay. And then did Olivia appear to be a happy baby?
Yes.
Did you, was it your experience that Jessica would keep her isolated?
No, I mean, they took public transportation everywhere. Olivia wasn't in daycare, and I don't believe she did play groups I know of, because I know we talked about it and it was hard with the public transportation, trying to get scheduled to go out places. But Olivia was always with her, I mean, everywhere.
Okay. But when you say always with her, would she also be around other people?
On the bus, in the stores, wherever Jessica was, generally Olivia was too, with a few very spare circumstances. When we took her to the hospital the one time, the reason we took Jess to the ER was because she didn't have that childcare for Olivia, and Jess was very sick. And so when we visited to San Antonio, I think that might have been one of the first times, if not the first time, we dropped off my daughter at her mother-in-law's and immediately raced and took Jess and Olivia to the ER, and Olivia stayed on my ex-husband's lap while Jess was getting treated.
Okay. And you also mentioned that that Olivia had jumped up in your lap one time with a book. Is that right?
I was sitting on the floor, and she was talking with Jess, and she just kind of came over with a book and sat herself down in my lap and held the book up and in the demanding toddler way of read to me, which I did.
All right. And do you have an opinion about, well, first off, do you know what the allegations are in this case?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Do you know that the state has alleged that Jessica would beat Olivia with this?
I'm aware.
Do you believe, do you have an opinion about Jessica's character?
Yes.
Do you have an opinion about whether she will be capable of doing anything like that?
Object to speculation.
That'll be sustained.
And so the court is sustaining the objection regarding an opinion as to the defendant's character. Is that correct?
That's not the question you asked. The question you asked, the court is sustaining it.
And
So
I
you can
believe
ask your
that,
next question.
Judge, I believe that is a character trait that she's entitled to.
The objection is sustained.
And so the court,
I have sustained the objection. That means that question, the state objected to it. The court made its ruling. Next question.
and will the court not let me make a record on that?
The objection has been sustained. You can ask your next question.
Do you have an opinion about whether Jessica's character would permit her, whether she would be capable of beating Olivia's head against a wall?
Judge, I'm gonna object again.
Sustained.
She's not asking about character trait.
But it is, Judge.
I have sustained the objection.
Do you have an opinion about whether about Jessica's character for violence?
She's not.
Okay. And do you have an opinion about her character for beating a child with a rod.
Again, same objection.
Sustained.
Um. Is Jessica a peaceful person?
Yes,
Is she a patient person?
in my experience, yes.
Okay, and do you believe that she is patient? Do you believe that she could lose her temper with a child?
I think she,
That would be sustained.
Do you believe that her character is such that she could lose her temper with a child?
I invited her to come live with me and to watch my child. So no, I do not think that.
Okay. Where were you living at that time?
Washington, DC.
Okay. And did she take you up on that offer?
No, sir. She'd lived in San Antonio her whole life. And well, I've moved a whole bunch. It's very difficult for people to leave their homes.
I'm sorry, it's very difficult. What?
For people to leave their homes if they're not used to it.
I see. It's something that you're used to.
Very much so.
Okay. So when you invited her, did you tell her that you would want her to be basically a live-in babysitter? Is that?
Yes, I was looking for work at the time and I said if she moved up, we would give her the free room and board if she would be willing to help around and watch the girls while I was working and looking for work.
Okay. And so would you have trusted her with your child?
Absolutely.
Today, knowing what you know, knowing what the allegations are in this case, knowing what you know about Jessica and all of her history, would you trust Jessica alone with your
Objection,
child?
relevant.
Sustained.
I pass the witness, Judge.
State.
Good morning, Ms. Whittle.
Good morning.
So you and Jessica met on the internet in 2013?
Yes, ma'am.
And you saw her about 4 or 5 times total. Is that correct in person?
I would say between 5 and 10. I can confirm at least 5 through that message history, but sometimes we would talk on via text message.
Okay, but do you recall telling us 4 or 5 times total?
Yeah, around a handful of times. Yes, ma'am.
And when was the last time you saw Jessica and Olivia?
That would have been sometime in 2016.
So like a year and a half before Olivia passed away?
I can't give you the exacts. I know 2017, I didn't come visit them. I'm not sure when in 2016 I did.
And at UTSA, Jessica studied psychology and anthropology, is that correct?
I'm not sure. I didn't know her at school, ma'am.
Did you know that she was highest honors for a while when she was at school?
I'm not surprised, but no, I did not.
Would you describe Jessica as intelligent?
Yes,
UTSA being the best time in her life.
yes, I believe she did.
And you talk about Olivia being her world, but that wasn't really a world that she was very happy in, was it?
It was a world she was thrust into. You don't have to be happy with the world to be happy with your child.
But at any rate, when she talked about UTSA and she talked about her life, she wasn't very happy.
When I mean, parts of UTSA, when things began to go bad, no, she wasn't
No, I'm
happy.
talking about after, like, when she talks about UTSA, she's very happy, is that correct?
So far as I recall, yes.
At her time when she's living in the apartment after Olivia's born, she talks about being a different person, isn't that right?
She talked about how life was changing. Yes, ma'am.
And you said the vast majority of your communication with Jessica was over Facebook. Is that correct?
Facebook Messenger and text message.
I just want to talk about some of the things that she said to you throughout your relationship, and I've got some questions about that. So you guys started talking about October 10th, 2013, is that correct?
It was shortly before I gave birth to my daughter. Yes, ma'am.
And then you reached out to her January 2014, and she said, I didn't mean to make anyone concerned. It was just a reflection on the past and present, which can be uplifting and yet provide an unsettling contrast. I forget it's important to remember good times and be grateful even when they are gone or become like Grumpy Cat. Do you remember her saying that?
Vaguely.
And talking about being in her zombie state?
I don't remember. I believe that was a post on Facebook she made. I don't remember exactly what in reference to it was.
And her daughter, she originally started calling her Olivia. Is that correct?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
then she changed her name to Zoe. Is that correct?
She started calling her different names. Yes.
And she referred, and I'm just looking back on some conversations y'all had in 2014. She referred to Corey, the child's father, as the sperm donor. Is that correct?
I think I may have started that term, but yes.
And she said, I actually wanted to give her for adoption or let a friend care for her because the situation with him is not healthy. And she said, I'm nowhere as happy and whole as I used to be because of his behavior. Do you remember that?
Yes, he's an awful person.
Okay, but you've actually never met him, right?
No, and I never want to.
Okay. And as far as you know, he left Jessica alone the entire time Olivia was around
I believe he tried to reach out to her a couple times.
via Facebook.
So far as I know, yes, ma'am.
Well, he had a child with her after all, right?
He certainly didn't support her during the pregnancy.
Okay, but I mean, she didn't have any actual contact with him.
Purposely so, although I believe his parents had contact with her, were on her Facebook.
And she goes on to say, 2014, talking about Corey, I've got no physical scars. He never hit me. Maybe I've never even had a legitimate reason to be scared. And that thought makes me really go nuts. To think I might have been able to be free and happy long ago. Woe is me to be the perfect way to describe it. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you remember in 2014, she said she offered to have a friend in Corpus take Zoe for her, and she couldn't pick a better choice.
Yes, but it was, I believe, before she was born.
Well, you go on to ask her, are you still thinking giving Zoe for adoption to the person in Corpus? Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And she goes on to tell you the friend in Corpus that offered to take her has 2 little boys and she wouldn't make it official. So she was actually still considering giving Olivia, now Zoe, away. Is that correct?
I think after those exact messages, she said, but I couldn't do it anymore, something along those lines, because she had bonded with Olivia.
But in 2014, February 2014, she also says, to be honest, 4 or 5 months ago, she probably would have been sent to vacation in Corpus, no problem. But now I miss her goofy little quirks. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And she talks about, are you friends with Denise Erickson also?
Yes, ma'am.
And she talks about how she developed a friendship with Denise. Do you remember that?
Vaguely, yes, ma'am.
And she says, I only met her once, and regardless of how good a person she is, her relation to me will always be a miserable reminder. What miserable reminder is she talking about?
About Corey.
And she goes on to talk about Corey some more, says father doesn't even know she was born, doesn't know her social security number, gave her a different name. So again, Corey doesn't know anything about Olivia. Is that correct?
He knows that Olivia was born, and his then wife, or another one of the mothers of his children, had threatened to take the child.
Does she go on to talk about the guy that she actually really liked?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that guy?
Joe, I don't remember his name.
But she says to you, to make it easy, the guy I loved I will call Garcia, and the scumboat is Ruiz. I wasn't attracted to Ruiz, never liked him. In fact, when I first saw him smile, there was something in my stomach that just turned. I remember it, and to illustrate the contrast between them, with Garcia, I felt an overwhelming sense of joy and peace. And I'd never been attracted to any male, but something about Garcia had me bonkers in the cartoons, or like in the cartoons where the wolf's tongue and eyes would pop out. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you know if she kept in contact with Joe Garcia at all?
I believe she told me she had talked to him a few times. I had encouraged her to talk to him about the abuse she suffered from Corey, and she didn't want to.
Okay. But again, when you're talking about abuse, there was actually no physical abuse, is that correct?
I was in an abusive relationship and I was never hit. It was still abuse.
But just to clarify, there's no physical contact, no abuse.
No physical abuse, lots of emotional abuse and possibly sexual abuse.
And all the information you have about this is just from Jessica, right? You never witnessed anything?
From Jessica and from things Denise said later.
She goes on to talk more about Corey and Joe. Basically a lot of messages about how much she hates Corey. He's delusional, selfish, stubborn. Did she ever say anything about how Corey actually was around his kids that you recall?
I don't know if she saw him around his kids.
Well, do you remember her saying, I was around him with his daughter, and I hate saying it, but he does fairly well in his fatherly duties. And he's back together with his wife now, this fourth time, and living with the kids. I'm not sure how things are going. So she actually said he was pretty good around his kids.
Yes, I believe I recall that.
And she goes on to say she wishes Corey would have just let her do what she would have liked, but I wish that from the beginning. Was that in reference to terminating the pregnancy, or do you know what that was in reference to?
I'm not sure. I believe that was just in reference to her life in general.
And she goes on to say, I never did tell anyone about any of it, the good, the one I loved, the bad Ruiz, or the ugly Ruiz. She really does not like Corey, huh?
He was abusive.
Okay, again, he was not physically abusive, and you never witnessed him, is that correct?
Again, physical
Okay.
abuse isn't the only abuse.
I'm not asking about hearsay that you've heard from others. She talks about C, says his name is just too dumb for me to even type. Talks about Joe Garcia. Talks about contrast from them. They as well know his name rocks. It was only positive, calm, courage, and other stuff. And then with C, referring to Corey, I assume.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to punch him in that pathetic face the first time I saw it. And I really didn't know why. So it made me feel so mean and guilty. You remember that?
Yes, we were talking about our abusive pasts.
And she goes on to say, he used me to commit infidelity. I couldn't get past it. Like I said, honor is everything to me. That made it impossible for any chance at recovery. Did Jessica seem to care what other people thought of her?
To a degree, yes, ma'am.
She goes on to say, still February 2014, most of y'all's communication was early on, right? 2014, 2015?
Yes, that was before I started working.
I was engaged in something horrible and took actions I would never have done in my life, which helped hurt an innocent victim. His wife makes sure I know that. She blames me for everything he's done and believes I'm the one that has no respect for boundaries and just lured him into that situation. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So she's pretty upset that she came out looking like a cheater, a bad person.
I disagree that that's what she's upset about.
But she goes on to say, when you're talking about Corey, thankfully, he has not bothered me since I left. He was sneaking around with his wife. So at that point, Corey's not bugging her at all. Is that correct?
So far as I know, yes.
Right. And Olivia's already almost a year old at this point, February 2014.
Yes.
And she says, I think he finally gets it. Even if he impregnates me, leaves his wife multiple times, takes me from my friends and the man I love, disparages me, introduces me to the family, treats me to fancy dinners, and is occasionally kind. I will never be able to love him. And she says, as for my old friends, I can't even remember how we met or when, or what I did with them. My life is like a dream that never happened. At least the best parts of it are. You remember that?
That's a normal trauma response. Yes.
And you're not a psychologist or a counselor.
Just an abuse victim myself who's gone through lots of therapy.
And she goes on to talk about Joe. Says she sounds like a psycho romance drama queen, especially first thing in the morning when she's messaging you. I don't and never have obsessed over any man the way I have with Joe. It's more than just human attraction. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And she talks about talking to Joe, and she said, it's not the same since I started falling apart, and now I don't even recognize former elements of my life. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and then she goes on to talk about Corey, and this is still February 2014. You asked about some of her Facebook friends having the last name Ruiz. And she said she added his parents and brother and his baby mom. Says they actually wanted to be at her birth, but I couldn't get the details. I met them way back just before Corey started sneaking around with his now wife. They were very nice and generous, paying for the phone I used, even for a year after Angel got pregnant and they didn't hear from me. Do you remember that?
I believe so. Yes.
And she talks more about Joe, still February 2014. She said, I actually thought for years I might not be human, like an extraterrestrial or a Frankenstein creature, maybe a cyborg. LOL, Joel is one of a kind because he brought feelings that made me feel human. You remember that?
Yes.
And in April 2014, she starts calling Olivia, who's now Zoe, Chloe. And she's almost 2-year-old, right?
She changed her name throughout, often based on what Olivia would respond to.
But a 1-year-old child has probably gotten pretty used to being called their name. Wouldn't you agree?
Object to the relevance, Judge.
That'll be overruled.
I mean, she called Olivia different names, so I don't think it was that.
And in May 2014, she starts calling Olivia Monica. Then she tries out Dorothy River. And then July 2014, she's now calling her Melody. And you guys talked about her moving up with you at one point in time. Did she tell you why she didn't want to move, that you recall?
We talked about it twice, actually, and in Washington, DC, it was again because San Antonio was the only home she'd ever known. And it would be moving to Washington, DC, half the country away.
Do you remember her saying, the reason I'm determined to stay is I'm holding out hope. I keep thinking if I move, I'm giving it my last chance with the one and only I truly did love. We still talk, and he mentioned how I felt. The Navy's unsatisfying for him. So
That,
she's still holding out hope for Joe.
that was one of the reasons we talked about, yes.
And then August 2014, she starts calling Olivia Mimi. Do you remember Jessica saying anything about how she felt being part of the mom crowd?
I believe we had both had a conversation about being part of the mom crowd when I was talking about playgroup.
And she said she didn't really want to be part of it because feels like it's sacrificing her old identity and something she didn't really want to belong to. Do you remember that?
Yes, the mom identity can be very hard. Over encompassing, I guess I should say.
And then do you remember her starting to call Olivia Stephanie in March 2015?
I remember lots of names. I remember at one point she talked about using Olivia, but she was afraid to because Corey had found out.
But at this point, we've got a 2-year-old who she's calling different names, calling this kid different names. Is that correct?
She's calling her her daughter different names, yes.
And at one point she says, as you mentioned, as she refers to him, no daddy said hello to her on Facebook. Sent several messages that said hello. Do you recall that?
Yes,
All right. But as far as you know, he didn't have any other contact with her.
as far as I know, no.
And she talks about his family. She says, this is March 2015. I do still have his parents as friends. I labeled them as restricted, so it won't show, but don't want to set up a reaction for them outright. They might strike with more force. I'm trying to keep them away from their grandkids. So far, their only requests have been to stop for a visit or drop a gift by, which I've never replied. Is that correct?
She was very afraid of Corey coming back into her life.
But again, as we talked about, he wasn't really trying to.
And when he sent those messages, he was.
And then, did she talk to you about how unhappy she was in her life?
At times, yes.
So May 2015, Olivia's about almost 2 years old. Says, once upon a day, I used to make friends with even people at the bus stop, but lately I've only sabotaged relationships. Seems I've only been capable of making a horrible impression the last few years.
She had a lot of self-blame.
And she said, and there's the aspect of things seen from my end and missing out so much. I love everything once. I mean, everything, even litter. She's talking about kitty litter. Okay, rambling is a symptom of my former ridiculous happiness. The point is, lately, I've only been down and sour about everything. I mean, everything.
Yes, her life had vastly changed after Corey, as it does for many victims.
And there's a period of time from about October 25th, 2015 to February 8th, 2016, where communication just kind of drops off. When you try to get in touch with her. Do you remember that?
There were several gaps where I would reach out to her and her phone wouldn't have access anymore. Or she would reach to me and I was just busy with work. I dropped off.
And did she tell you during that time period she'd taken Olivia for a head injury? Did she tell you about that?
She mentioned that the laptop I got her dropped on Olivia's head, but that's all I recall.
She told you the laptop she got her dropped?
That I got her, yes.
Do you remember when you gave her the laptop?
I believe it was 2016.
Yes, around like March or April 2016, right?
Yes, she had mentioned trying to find work and I wanted to help her.
And she said that the laptop you gave her struck Olivia in the head and caused her to get stitches.
It had fallen on her head. I don't recall any more information than that.
Would it surprise you that the medical records from that time period say that Olivia's head was injured because, well, in one of the records it says Jessica dropped a plastic plate on her head, and another one says she fell on a plastic broken cup.
Objection, Judge, there were multiple injuries.
Overrule.
Would that surprise you?
At this point, no.
And that nowhere in the medical records does it say she was injured with a laptop.
I said she didn't tell me she went in for that. She just mentioned it.
But she did tell detectives that she went in because Olivia had 6 stitches due to a laptop injury. Were you aware of that?
I may have been, I'm not sure.
And then March 2016, do you recall her saying she's been trapped in her own self-pity for so long, she cannot reconnect to my reality anymore. It's nearly impossible for me to connect to people. It makes me wish I'd met you when I was more alive. Do you remember that?
Yes, we often talked about things like that.
There was another drop off in communication from about March 28th, 2016 to May 17th. Do you remember that?
I'm not surprised. I don't remember exactly, but again, there would have been more of those drop-offs after I started work in 2015, and then as work picked up and I took on more projects. That's also when my now husband moved in, was in 2016, so.
And you tried to visit her in March 2016, you weren't able to. Do you remember that?
Not exactly. It was, sorry, it was hard to sometimes coordinate times because she didn't often have a phone.
And you sent her several messages, April, May 2016, trying to get in touch with her. Do you remember that?
I believe I was trying to drop off some clothes.
And she didn't respond until mid-May 2016. Do you remember that?
I don't remember the exact dates. I know eventually she got the clothes and I think I picked them up, the ones she didn't want afterwards. I don't exactly remember.
And that was actually the time period when she went in for the head injury that she says was either from a laptop or a plastic plate or a plastic. Were you aware of that? April 2016?
Not on exact dates, ma'am.
And then February 5th, 2017, she's now calling Olivia's journey. And the messages stop until about, they stopped June 2017. Did you guys just stop talking on Facebook after that?
No, I sent you and defense the same information I had sent the detective, which was up until Olivia's death.
That was messages stop off June 25th, 2017.
I imagine so.
Now, would it surprise you that Joe she talks about, they'd actually, well, he described it as more of a casual relationship. Come over, they'd hook up, but they actually stopped talking July 2017.
I didn't know much about the relationship, so no, that wouldn't surprise me.
But they stopped talking about a month before Olivia passed away. Were you aware of that?
Again, I wouldn't have been, so no.
And defense asked you about what form of punishment Jessica would use on Olivia. Would it surprise you to know if you told detectives that she smacked Olivia so hard at 8 months old for peeing her diaper that it made Olivia shake?
It would surprise me, yes.
Would it surprise you that she told detectives she would push Olivia going into Olivia's bedroom and she would fall down?
I mean, if she was a toddler and just fell because she was being pushed into a bedroom, that would not surprise me.
Do you have kids? Are you the kid, Maribel?
Yes, I have Maribel.
Have you pushed her hard enough to where she's fallen down on multiple occasions?
Accidentally.
Would it surprise you that she told detectives she would pinch and pull Olivia's ears as a form of punishment?
It's kind of odd, but I guess that
Actually,
would,
objection, Judge, that's a mischaracterization of the evidence. She did not say she would pull her ears.
All right, that'll be overruled.
Would that surprise you?
the act alone would surprise me, but I mean, that's just odd, I guess.
Would it surprise you to learn that Olivia had scars on both of her ears at the time she died?
At this point in time, no, but yes, I guess I'm not sure.
Would it surprise you to know that Jessica told detectives that she would accidentally hit Olivia's head on the door frame practically every time she put her to sleep?
Practically every time, yes, but during when she was younger and like the back carries are difficult, I dropped my daughter the first time I tried doing that.
But when you do things with your daughter and you hurt your child, do you change your behavior so it doesn't happen again?
The best I can, but accidents always happen, like the pushing.
But at any rate, you wouldn't do the same thing that caused your child pain over and over and over and over again accidentally, would you?
I would try not to. I also can't stop my child from climbing in the bathtub and she keeps falling, so.
Well, I'm not
Do what you
talking about
can.
that. I'm talking about something you can do with your child. Would it surprise you that Jessica described Olivia as an impediment to her friends?
I would need context, so depending on context, no. Or yes.
And that she said at age 4, she couldn't really take Olivia anywhere.
Again, with context at that point at 4, it's very difficult to carry. And the stroller, I know she had a stroller at one point, it wasn't working out. So you have to walk with the 4-year-old who has.
Okay, well, so here's the context. She says she couldn't really take Olivia anywhere because she's an impediment to her friends.
I guess that's not enough context. I often couldn't, at 4, I couldn't take my daughter places for social reasons.
You said when you saw Olivia, she always seemed healthy.
So far as I recall, yes.
And as far as you know, Jessica was always Olivia's only caretaker.
Her mother would come in sometimes, but
Okay.
yes.
But while Jessica, and I believe it's in your messages, would like go out to take the trash, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Okay, would it surprise you that Olivia, at the time of her death, and I'm not sure how much you know, she passed away on September 6th, a day after she went to the hospital, September 6th, 2017. She weighed less then than she did when she was 2 years old. Would that surprise you?
I was already aware of that, yes.
And as a mother, that's something you'd be pretty concerned about. Because your child's growing taller in 2 years, they've actually lost weight. Is that correct?
Yes, I took my daughter, but I also took my daughter into the doctor for many, many reasons, constantly.
And are you aware of the extent of the injuries that Olivia passed away with?
I read what was reported in the news several years ago.
That she was underweight. Were you aware that she had bruises all over her body?
Objection, there is no evidence that she passed away from being underweight, Judge.
All right, that'll be overruled.
Nor is there any evidence that that's an injury, Judge.
Overruled.
Were you aware that she had bruises at various stages all over her body?
Yes, ma'am, that was reported.
Were you aware that she had scars all over her entire body?
That was also reported.
Were you aware that she had 10 scars on the top of her head?
I wasn't aware of the number. I knew she had scarring on her head.
She had multiple areas of bleeding in her brain.
I was aware of that, or of a bleed in the brain.
She had a healing fractured arm.
Yes, ma'am. that was
Objection,
reported.
Judge, that's a mischaracterization of the evidence.
All right, that will be sustained.
Judge, Were you aware that our medical examiner, Dr. Five, testified that she had a fracture that was healing in her left arm?
Objection, Judge, that's not what he testified to. He testified that the ossification was consistent with a fracture, but he did not, and he specifically said that he couldn't say it was a fracture.
All right, that'll be sustained. Would you like to re-ask the question, State?
Okay. Were you- Were you aware that she had a hemorrhage in her right arm at the time she passed away?
No, ma'am.
Were you aware that the defendant, Jessica BRIONES, said that she would close Olivia's arm in the door on a regular basis?
Not on a regular basis, ma'am.
Um, And as you stated, yours and Jessica's relationship was primarily a relationship that took place over Facebook Messenger.
Facebook Messenger and text.
And do you believe that people are always who they pretend to be on the internet?
I believe that when you speak to someone enough constantly and they don't have inconsistencies, that you can generally trust them, whether it's online or not.
Did Jessica ever tell you how Olivia lost her 2 front teeth?
She mentioned it. I believe she said something about the bathtub, but I don't remember exact details.
Do you remember how she told you she lost each tooth after the bathtub?
I don't remember hearing about losing teeth other than the bathtub incident. I know she took her to the dentist and the dentist told her not to be concerned. In that they would grow back, there wouldn't be trauma to the permanent teeth.
You said Olivia was a happy baby,
Yes,
but you don't really know if she was a happy 4-year-old.
I didn't see them during 2017, no.
I'll pass the witness.
Defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a few questions. Sorry, can I confer with my client for a
Yes.
second, Judge? You said something about when things began to go bad at UTSA for Jessica. What did you mean by that?
I was referring to Corey. When she met Corey,
Oh, okay. So, by the time, let me be clear about the timeline here. By the time that Jessica had Olivia, was she already out of UTSA?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so, and she finished 3 years at UTSA, right?
So far as I know, yes.
Okay, but, well, do you know if she quit because she was pregnant?
I believe there was an issue with financial aid that she wasn't able to get sorted, so she wasn't able to finish her degree.
Okay, so it had nothing to do with Olivia, right?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. And so she wouldn't have been resentful of Olivia for that reason, correct?
Sustained.
Now, you mostly communicated with Jessica by text or by Facebook Messenger, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, for the, I mean, probably everyone in the world is familiar with Facebook Messenger, but just in case. Facebook Messenger is not Facebook, right?
No, it's a lot like text message. It's a chat program.
It's essentially a text app, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so even if somebody pretends to be someone else on Facebook, does that necessarily mean that's going to carry over to Facebook Messenger?
You could have someone who's catfishing, who has a fake profile, be on Facebook Messenger, but again, generally inconsistencies would show up throughout, especially a several-year history conversation, and it saves your history so you can go back and check.
Okay, and then forgive me when I say this, but other than the fact that that you and Jessica, that it's y'all's generation just tends to communicate by text, right?
Yes, sir.
Other than that, was there any reason that that was mostly the way that you communicate?
I'm not great at talking on the phone, and I lived across the country, and then I lived in Houston. So it was just easier, and she often didn't have phone minutes either. So
And that's what I was getting at, phone minutes. do you
yes, she would do the pay by minute or prepay phones. Often she had multiple phones, just depending on which one had minutes. And so Facebook Messenger was generally a more consistent way to communicate with her.
Okay, and you said that you might have been the one who first started calling Corey or classing him as a sperm donor, correct?
Yes.
And that is what he was, correct?
So far as I know, yes, as he has been to other children.
And did you say, I wasn't sure if I heard this right, did you say that Jessica was not as happy in Olivia's later years because of Corey's behavior?
She was terrified of Corey coming and trying to take Olivia away or try to punish her. I encouraged her to take steps and try to protect herself away from that, which is one of the reasons I wanted her to move to DC.
To punish Jessica,
Yes, to punish Jessica by using Olivia to punish her.
I see. And what would have been so bad about that?
Object to speculation.
Sustained.
But Corey was an abuser, correct?
Object to a mischaracterization of the evidence.
Overrule.
Yes, he was emotionally and I believe also sexually abusive.
Object to hearsay.
That'll be sustained.
And Judge, I believe the state has opened the door on that. They asked that question.
Judge,
Objection is sustained.
And I think one of the statements that one of the texts that the prosecution read to you, Jessica said, "Honor is everything to me." You recall that?
Yes, sir.
And then the prosecutor kind of characterized that as well, so
Judge,
Jessica
you
cared.
your own witness.
All right, let me hear the question.
The prosecutor characterized that as well, then I guess Jessica cared what people thought about her. Is that right?
That's how the prosecution posed it. Yes, sir.
Okay. But did you find Jessica to be an honorable person?
Yes.
Okay. And did you generally, through her behavior, find that was important to her to behave honorably?
Yes, she was honorable, or I considered it more ethical. So yes.
Ethical?
Yes.
In your experience, in your knowledge of Jessica and her relationship with Olivia, did any of this stuff about Joe and Corey have anything to do with her relationship with Olivia?
I know that when she was pregnant, she had wanted to terminate, which I understood as a victim of abuse myself. But once Olivia was born, Olivia was her world. And I believe she made several statements in that text history that she couldn't imagine a life without Olivia now. And the conversations we would have about Joe, about Corey, I was trying to give her a safe space to work it out because she didn't have the privilege of therapy that I had.
Okay. Did she resent Olivia because of Corey?
No, I never, ever saw that.
Did Jessica, do you know why she tried out different names on Olivia?
I don't remember exactly. I think part of it, I said at one point she had talked about keeping Olivia, but I think it was Denise, I'm not sure. Someone had let slip to Corey that was Olivia's name, and she was terrified. She was just terrified of Corey coming after Olivia.
Oh, I see. Okay. We're on 23, right?
Yes. Yes.
I'm handing you what's been marked as defendant's exhibit 23. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is that?
That's the Chromebook I got Jessica so she could look for jobs and write a resume cover letter out on.
And write a resume, what?
A resume and cover letter for.
Okay, and just opening this up. And pushing the power button, it does not appear to have any juice in it, right?
Correct.
And there's no charger with it, correct?
Correct.
So no one could, right now, in the state that it's in, could open that up and look at files in it, that kind of thing, right?
Correct.
Okay. Judge, I offer defendants exhibit 23.
No objection.
All right. Defense Exhibit 23 is admitted without objection.
Did Jessica ever talk to you about Olivia choosing her own name?
Yes.
Okay. And is that something when she would use these various names, was she allowing Olivia to decide?
Yes, she would talk about when Olivia was responding to certain names or not.
Okay.
I think one of the names she had said that she didn't necessarily like, but that Olivia seemed to.
Do you remember which?
I don't, maybe River. I'm not sure.
Okay. So
It's the first page.
I'm sorry.
I said it's the first page if that's what you're looking for.
So I'm showing you again this growth chart of Olivia's. It's the first page of State's Exhibit 18. And much has been made throughout this trial of the fact that at the time of her death, Olivia,
Object to defense counsel testifying.
That objection will be sustained.
okay. We can see from this chart that that at the time of her death, Olivia weighed 12 kilograms.
Yes, sir.
And would it surprise you to know that the doctors have testified that that is in the bottom 5th percentile of weight for children her age, height and weight for children her age?
Without looking at a chart, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me or not surprise me.
Okay, you're a biologist, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with percentiles?
Yes, sir.
What's the 5th percentile of anything?
That would be the lowest 5% or lowest 5% of a range.
Okay, so if you had the 5th percentile of, for example, weight, does that mean that that person is among the lower 5% of all people with this of the same age?
Within that range, they usually for its weight and height for children.
Okay. And would you agree with me that somebody has to be in that bottom 5th percentile?
My own daughter was often near the bottom of that because she's very tall and skinny.
Okay. So her height, she was taller, her height was not in the bottom 5th percentile, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
But her weight was.
Yes.
And is that because she was malnourished?
No, sir.
Okay. It's just kids grow in different ways. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if there was testimony that the ossification on both of Olivia's arms may have been, and you would probably know the word, and I don't remember it, but as a biologist, you would probably know it, but may have been just the way that Olivia was growing, would that surprise
Judge,
you?
I'm gonna object to again.
Sustained.
Judge, the state was allowed to do the exact same.
You are
thing
not
with
allowed to lead.
Broken arm.
It's redirect. I'm sorry, it's redirect. Redirect. There is no leading.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
So the
What is-
objection is sustained.
I'm sorry, Judge.
The objection is sustained.
Yeah. So, and you can answer this question one way or the other, and I'm not trying to suggest an answer. What I'm asking you though is, if there had been testimony, hypothetically, that the ossification on both of Olivia's arms were just that it was possible that was just part of her growth pattern, would that surprise you?
No, kids grow weird sometimes.
Okay. And was it your experience that Olivia was small her whole life? Or when you saw her?
She was, I believe so, yes.
Were you ever concerned that she was malnourished?
No,
Pass the witness, Judge.
Just a few follow-up questions. Defense asked you about the growth chart again. In 2016, when you saw Olivia, her weight was still going up though, is that correct?
yes,
And as a mother, you would agree with me that you'd be pretty concerned if your child's weight from age 2 to 4 dropped.
not necessarily. It shows that she also gained several, what is that? 6 centimeters on top of that. So if she hadn't gained weight while gaining height.
So you're saying you would not be concerned if your 4-year-old weighed less than she did 2 years prior.
I would have to know. So I said, my daughter had chronic health issues, so she was constantly in.
You would not be concerned as a mother.
If I took her to the doctor and the doctor told me that, because I don't weigh my child at home, I would be concerned and I would ask the doctor whether I should be concerned or not.
But you would take her to the doctor.
My daughter had chronic health issues. She was in every month. I had FMLA.
Defense asked about Corey, but to your knowledge, Corey was never around Olivia, never around Jessica, and other than a few Facebook messages saying hello, he had no partner life. To your
He-
knowledge.
Never tried to other than those few messages. So no.
I'll pass the witness.
Pass, Judge.
All right, is this witness excused or subject to recall?
Excuse from the state.
Judge, can we approach on that issue?
Yes. Everyone, we're gonna come back at 11:30. So make sure you wear your badges. You see anyone talking about this case, ignore it. Do not do any research. Everything you need to know about this case will come from inside the courtroom. And do not begin your deliberations until I let you know you can begin. All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors. And All right, Ms. Burton, are you able to hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Just give us a moment. Guys, it's time for the jurors to come in. Thank you. And Ms. Burton, you're still under oath.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, letting it back on.
All right, and then Mr. Foley, could you just do a testing to make sure that she can hear? Oh, just say test.
Oh, just
Just, yes,
test. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
okay. We're ready.
All right, for the jury.
And let me know if you're not able to. All right, everyone, please. That's okay. Everyone, please be seated. All right, defense, call your next witness.
We call Lindsay Burton, Judge.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Burton was previously here in person, but she's now by Zoom. Ms. Burton, you're still under oath, defense?
May I confer with the state for a second, Judge?
Yes.
Three different page ones? Yeah, that's, I mean, it's fine. It's a bit. They are missing.
Ms. Burton, you have testified previously in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And what is it you do again? Would you remind the jury? We've been here a while.
Yes, sir. I work for the Department of Human Services in Colorado Springs as an adolescent intake supervisor.
Okay, and previous to that?
I was an investigator with the Department of Family and Protective Services in Bexar County.
Okay, so, and that is what people often refer to as CPS, correct?
Yes, sir.
Child Protective Services.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did you and you testified previously that you had conducted an investigation in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And were you the lead investigator for CPS in this case? Or for Department of Family Protective Services?
We don't have titles as far as lead investigator. I was the investigator on the case.
Okay, that's good. And did you file a report in that case?
I'm not sure what you mean. I documented and there's a report for my investigation.
Okay, right. Okay, sorry. I guess filed was the operative word there, right? Is that the problem?
Yeah, I mean, we don't file reports. That would be what we did for like affidavits and things like that, but not for our investigations.
Okay, so but you created a report.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that report is kept in the regular course of business at CPS, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Made at or near the time of the events reflected therein
Yes, sir.
by a person with knowledge of those events, correct? Or
Yes, sir.
told by a person with knowledge.
Mr. Fowler, can I get you to speak up?
I'm
please?
sorry, or told to them by a person with knowledge.
I don't know what you mean.
It's either made by a person who has personal knowledge or they've been told by a person who has personal knowledge, right?
Typically the person who documents in the report is the person who gathered the information.
Okay. And may I approach court reporter?
Yes.
Judge? Well, actually, I won't. Sorry, Judge. And Judge, the state and I will stipulate that what's marked as defendant's exhibit 24 is the records provided to me by the state, 323 pages of CPS records.
Yes, John.
And I move for admission of defendants 24.
State.
No objection.
All right, defense exhibit number 24 is admitted without objection.
And Ms. Burton, you've seen, did the state send you a copy of what they have provided to me? These
I don't know
records?
what they gave to you, but I do have a copy of my own report.
Okay, and is that 323 pages?
I believe it was.
Okay. And tell us what all is contained in a CPS report. In your report, what types of documents are contained therein?
The interviews that were conducted during the investigation, any records that were requested, we will document that we requested those records. The hard copies of those records will be put into the file. But everything that was done during the investigation is typically in the investigative report.
Okay, and so would there be, if CPS filed, what's an SAPCR?
I don't know, sir.
Do you know what a suit affecting parent-child relationship is?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you know what a suit affecting parent-child relationship is?
No, I do not.
You don't, okay. Is there a way, if CPS takes custody of a child, what do you then, what do you do to do that, to take custody of a child?
We call our supervisors who then call the ADA or the assistant district attorney and staff it with them. Let them know what is going on in the case and why we're asking for removal. We do 3 different types of removals in Texas. It's then determined from there if it meets criteria or if the child is determined to be unsafe.
Okay, and then do you know what the procedure is from there.
Yeah, so once, I mean, it depends on what type of removal it is. Like I said, there's 3 different types of removals, so it could go a different way for each one. Would
Okay,
you like me to explain each one?
yes, please.
Sure. So, an expedited or, well, I would say a 113 is, non-emergency removal. In that case, the child will remain with the caregiver, or whoever they're with. They're deemed to be safe for the time being. This would typically happen if a parent has dropped a child off without proper paperwork and the caregiver who has the child has no means to make educational or medical decisions. And then we would write an affidavit and end up going to court. That takes about 30 days. With a, sorry, you'll have to excuse me, I don't work in Texas anymore. With a non-exigent removal, it's a removal within 24 hours. The child is deemed safe for over the night. We write an affidavit. It's filed with the DA in the morning. We pick up the child the next day, and then the removal is done that way. With exigent circumstances, after we staff with the assistant district attorney, the child is removed immediately. Those are for children that are in imminent danger.
Okay, and then the statute requires in that third category that you file the CPS file an SAPCR, a suit affecting parent-child responsibility immediately, and then seek to get a hearing on that within 24, within on the next business day, by the next business day. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, and which category, under which category? I think you testified before that you had removed Olivia Briones from Jessica Briones's custody. Is that right?
No, sir, I did not.
You did not. Okay, so
No.
you were not taking responsibility for her well-being while she was at the hospital. Is that right?
Correct. I never testified that I took custody of Olivia, and I did not take custody of Olivia.
I apologize. That's my mistake. Did CPS instruct anyone at the hospital that they could not allow
Your Honor,
Olivia?
I'm going to object to relevance to this line of questioning. It has nothing to do with Olivia's death.
All right, if I could hear the question, then I'll make a,
Did
Ruling on
CPS
your
instruct
objection.
anyone at the hospital that Olivia was not to have any visitors?
all right, that objection will be overruled.
You can answer.
Yes, I did instruct the hospital the first day on September 5th that there were to be no visitors.
Okay, now, and I'm trying to figure out under what authority you did that. Were you,
Again, I would object to relevance.
All right, that'll be overruled.
were you Olivia's guardian?
No, I was not. I was asked by the hospital if I agreed that she should have any visitors, and I said no.
Okay, but you didn't have a court order saying that you could prevent visitors, right?
Correct.
And you weren't her custodian,
No, I was
Right.
not.
you
That's
weren't
correct.
her guardian. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you. The court reporter is trying to take it down. It's especially horrible when we're doing Zoom, but you weren't her guardian, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so how could you prevent Olivia from having visitors?
Object to relevance, Your Honor.
Relevance.
Judge, it goes to the motive of pretty much everybody involved in this case for their testimony.
All right, that'll be sustained.
Okay, did you, when Olivia was taken off of life support, did the hospital consult with you about that?
Yes, they
Object
did.
And did you give any indication of what you thought should happen in that matter?
No,
Object
sir.
to relevance, Your Honor.
All right, that'll be overruled. The witness has answered the question.
Did they ask you, when I say consult, did they ask you for like permission to take her off life support?
Object to relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained.
And don't answer. So, and in this case was, I think you said, did you file an affidavit with the DA's office regarding Olivia?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you believe that there was any reason to remove Olivia from the custody of Jessica Briones?
If Olivia would have lived, yes.
Okay. I want you to refer to your report if you would. Do you have it electronically?
Yes, sir.
So if you could look at the digital page 203.
The enumerated page, I just.
I think that's right. I think it's the digital page. Just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, digital page 203. Is that an email? Does that look like an email to you?
Yes.
To South Texas Pediatrics?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure we're quite literally on the same page. So you say in there who is South Texas Pediatrics, first of all?
That was where she had taken Olivia for her
After.
pediatrician.
Oh, I see. And so it's medical records you're looking for there, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there you said, I need to obtain any records that you have for Olivia Briones, and you give the date of birth. Olivia is deceased and her mother is unable to sign a medical release form. I need the records for my investigation and also for a police investigation. Do you recall that email?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Okay. And let's start with why do you represent in there that Jessica was unable to sign a medical release form?
I don't recall.
Okay. Did you attempt to have Jessica sign a medical release form?
I believe so, but I don't recall, to be honest. It's been 5 years.
I understand. But you said in some cases you file an affidavit with the DA's office, correct? In
Yes,
some
sir.
type of cases. Does the DA provide support to CPS in child?
Object to relevance, Your Honor.
All right, let me hear the question.
Does the DA provide support to CPS in child protective cases?
All right, that objection will be overruled.
You can.
I'm not sure what you mean. What do you mean by support?
Well, like y'all don't have attorneys on staff, or do you? I guess I should ask that. Do you have attorneys on staff?
We have attorneys that work for the department, that represent the department.
Oh, okay.
When we do removals, we're represented in court.
By the DA, that's what I'm asking. By the
But
DA?
we don't represent ourselves.
So does the DA represent you on that? When you do removals?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you need to obtain records, I guess what I'm getting at, you have both staff attorneys and you have DAs. If you need to obtain records and you can't get a release, do you just go to whoever has the records and say, hey, give me those, I'm CPS? Or do you try to obtain a grand jury subpoena?
We do not ask the district attorney to obtain records for us. We typically will just go to the place that has the records and ask for the records. If they won't give them to us, then we might go a different route. But no, we don't typically ask the district attorney to gather our records for us, no.
So you don't have a judge's approval for obtaining those records, correct?
Object to relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Well, let me ask you this then. Have you heard of HIPAA?
Object to relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Were these records released to you without a HIPAA? Were they ultimately released to you without any HIPAA form?
I don't recall.
Okay. There's certainly no copy of any HIPAA form in the records, in your record.
Object
correct?
to relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained.
And if you could look at page 195. Again, that's the digital page number.
Yeah, give me just 1 second, please.
Sure. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing.
Okay,
And sorry, I'm still getting to it. So if you give me 1 second.
yes, sir.
That is the narrative. Well, so we're starting at page 192 and forward is the San Antonio Police Department report regarding this case, correct? The initial report that was made by the people at the substation, right?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
right? Okay. And then at 195, that's the narrative portion of that report. Is that right?
Yes, sir, appears to be.
Like before that, there's all kinds of stuff about, the details and names of witnesses and that kind of thing. But then there's sort of the meat of the report, right?
Yeah, it's the police report.
Yeah. And on 195, does the officer making this report state that, I'm sorry, 1 second. They refer to SP1, that would be suspected person 1, correct?
I don't make those reports, sir. I don't type them up, so I think there's a little thing here that tells you what it means.
Right, up at the top of the page.
Legend there that tells you who it is.
And who is SP1?
SP1, it looks like it says it is Jessica Briones.
Okay, and the report says that SP1, Jessica Briones, came into the Northwest Service Area Police Substation on Prue Road, right? And was carrying V1, and that's Olivia Briones, correct?
Yes, sir, that's what it says.
Okay, and that sorry, 1 second. Further down in the middle of paragraph 2, it says that SP1 claims she picked up V1 and I'm sorry, wait, above that. SP1 told me she did not know what happened to V1. SP1 said V1 went to sleep last night around 2100 hours. SP1 said V1 usually wakes up between 0900 and 10 o'clock. It actually says 1000 hours, I guess. SP1 said today V1 did not wake up at that time. SP1 claims she left her in bed and heard her vomiting around noon. When SP1 went to check on V1, she knew something was wrong. SP1 claims she realized V1 was not breathing when she arrived at the bus stop, so she carried her to the Northwest Service Area Police Substation for help. SP1 advised me no one else cares for V1, and SP1 said no one else lives with SP1 and V1. SP1 also claims she's the only person to be around V1 since Saturday, September 2nd, 2017. Is that what that report states?
I think you missed a sentence, but yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where was that?
Picked up V1 and carried her to the bus stop near her apartment complex to take her to the doctor's office. SP1 said you skipped that line.
Slow down, please. When reading from a document, please slow down.
Yes, ma'am. I will. Okay, so I skipped this line. SP1 claims she picked up V1 and carried her to the bus stop near her apartment complex to take her to the doctor's office. SP1 said she realized V1 was not breathing when she arrived at the bus stop, so she carried her to the Northwest Service Area Police Substation for help. Is that what I skipped?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry about that. I just missed it. Now, so that's what Jessica told the police, correct? Or at least somebody's, what they wrote down that she told them, right?
I wasn't there when she brought the child into the substation. I don't know what she told them.
Fair enough, but you have reviewed these records and you rely on these records, correct?
Yes, sir. I can say that what is written there is written there.
Okay. And then let's look at page 215. Sorry, I'm trying to skip ahead to it. There we go.
I'm not there yet. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm there.
You good?
Yes, sir.
There. Do you know what this document is?
Off first glance, I believe it's the part of the medical record for when she was at university.
Okay, and if you look at the top of page 215, that's dated April 8th of 2016. Is that right?
Hold on, I don't see a date. Give me a second. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do see it now.
Okay, and is that the right date? April 8th of 2016.
It does say that, yes, sir.
And then if you scroll down to general, this is an exam. I'm sorry, they do a physical exam of Olivia. Is that right?
I'm sorry, where am I scrolling down to, sir?
Sorry, just right underneath. So there's all that, there's that date, then there's weight, height, temperature, all that stuff.
Mhm.
And then underneath that is the
Oh,
physical exam.
I
it?
see it. Yes, sir.
And there, sorry, and there they talk about general that Olivia is alert, oriented, no distress, wearing sunglasses, correct?
Yes.
That the head, well, this is medical jargon, so I don't think it'll mean anything. Well, maybe it means something to you. That the head is normocephalic. That's NORMOCEPHALIC, comma, and atraumatic. You see that?
Yes, I do.
Does that mean anything to you?
That does not.
The eyes, it looks like more medical terminology. Do you understand it?
No, sir, but I would have consulted with a doctor if I didn't.
Okay. And dry blood, then they get to ENT and it says there's dry blood outside of the right ear. This is in 2016, correct?
Yes, sir.
And TMs without arrhythmia. Yeah, a lot of this I don't know. I don't get it. If you do, you can pipe up. But I don't want to waste the jury's time reading them medical terminology they might not understand. Let me ask you this. Under extremities, it says she moves all extremities well, no deformity, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that warm, well perfused, and CR brisk, right?
Yes, sir.
Neuro, it says no focal deficits, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
then skin, 2 centimeter laceration on the forehead, bruise noticed on left arms and legs, multiple linear healing lacerations on the arms and legs, and multiple hyperpigmented macules on arms and legs. And then otherwise no rash. Do you see all that?
Yes, sir.
Now, let me ask you this, are those the kinds of things that you believe should alert a mandated reporter to report to CPS?
Your Honor, it calls for speculation, objection.
That'll be overruled.
You can answer.
Yes, I would.
Okay. But you did not obtain these records because this was reported to CPS. You obtained these records because you went and requested them, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was this by anyone, I'm not asking who reported, but was there any report about Olivia Briones in April of 2016?
When I received my referral, there had been no CPS history and no criminal history that I found at all.
Okay, so it appears though that someone saw these injuries, a mandated reporter saw these injuries and then did not make a report of child abuse, correct?
That's what it appears to be. Yes, sir.
Okay, and can you turn to page 222? Again, that's the digital page number.
Okay.
And is this another set of medical records?
Yes, sir. Dated September 5th, 2017.
Okay, and then and that's the date of the incident in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
Or the date that she was brought to the hospital?
Yes, sir.
And do you see a section called history of present illness?
Yes, sir.
Would you read that to us, please? And read slowly because the court reporter has to take down everything.
Sure. Patient is a 4-year-old female with signs of chronic abuse who was found unconscious by her mother. She was brought to a fire department when she could not arouse her. Per mother, the child had been fine until she fell backwards off of a chair and hit the posterior aspect of her head. She stated that her head hurt, but she was consolable and not complaining afterwards. Later that evening, her mother states she heard Olivia vomiting, but did not go to check on her. When she did go and check on her, she noticed that she was unable to wake Olivia. She tried shaking her, but was unsuccessful. She decided to take her to a police station to get help. EMS was called and she was brought to University Hospital for further care.
Okay, and let's just parse that a little bit. Let's start with she was brought to a fire department when the mother could not arouse her, right? Is that from your knowledge of this case, is that what happened?
No, sir.
Okay, and then per the mother, the child had been fine until she fell backwards off a chair, hit the posterior aspect of her head. She stated that her head hurt, but was consolable and not complaining afterwards. Later that evening, the mother states she heard Olivia vomiting, but did not go check on her. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this has everything happening on Friday night, apparently, right? Friday's the night that Olivia fell off the chair, correct?
Your Honor, objection, it doesn't say Friday anywhere in what she just read.
All right, that'll be overruled. You can answer the question if you can answer the question.
Yeah, I don't see anywhere where it states when she's saying that happened.
Okay, well, she does say that later that evening, the mother states she heard Olivia vomiting, but did not go to check on her. Is that what the other records in this case claim?
No.
Okay, so is it possible that someone taking down a history took it down wrong?
Your Honor, I'd object to speculation.
Gotta be sustained.
Okay. Um. Can I have just a second, Your Honor?
Yes.
Also, were you present when Olivia was taken off of life support?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um. You were in the room?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What, who else was there?
There were some people there that were singing or playing music, I think it was. I don't know who they were exactly. I'm guessing they were hospital chapel. And a few nurses, I believe.
Okay. Uh. Do you know, I believe it's Detective Mead. Do you
I
know
don't
if
know.
there was, do you know if there was a policeman there who was holding Olivia or holding her hand? A policewoman, I'm sorry.
No,
You don't know?
no, I don't. I don't remember seeing a police officer there.
Okay. Do you know, was there a pastor there?
Irrelevant.
What's the relevance?
I'm sorry, Judge.
The relevance?
Well, it goes to whether Olivia was considered alive at the time, Judge. The hospital is providing these comforts to Olivia, which if, as they claimed, she was brain dead, there would be no need to provide.
All right, state's objection is sustained. If you want to ask that other question, you're more than welcome to ask that question, but the question just asked is sustained.
Okay. Was the hospital or what appeared to be hospital staff providing comforts to Olivia?
Yes,
Okay. And was Olivia's mother present in the room?
no, as I testified before, she was not there.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
State?
Ms. Burton, do you know why Jessica was not
I'm sorry, I can't hear you at all.
there? Do you know why Jessica wasn't there?
I don't know why she wasn't there. I did try to find her.
Okay, and that's what I'm getting at. As part of CPS, did you try to locate Jessica so that she could be there?
I did.
And how long did you look for Jessica that day?
For as much time as they allotted me to. I can't remember exact times. But I had been up at the hospital when they were first talking about taking Olivia off the machines and asked to go find Jessica, asked them to wait. And I rushed out and immediately went and started searching for her. Like I testified before, I went to her apartment. I knocked on neighbors' doors trying to find her, and I could not find her.
So it's not that she wasn't allowed to be with Olivia when they had to take her off life support. It's that she was nowhere to be found.
That's correct.
And in fact, you were the one that was holding Olivia's hand when she died, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware that when Olivia first arrived at University Hospital, the initial trauma team obtained a medical history of Olivia and had specifically separated themselves from law enforcement to do so?
I was not aware.
Now, did you make a finding in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the finding?
I validated Miss Briones for neglectful supervision, medical neglect, and physical abuse.
Now, looking back to that hospitalization in April of 2016, would it surprise you that it was in fact labeled by Children's Hospital of San Antonio as possible non-accidental trauma?
That's not surprising.
But we don't know why it didn't get reported to CPS, right?
No, ma'am. I wasn't there for that.
Do you recall speaking to Jessica about the injuries that she had?
Yes.
I'm sorry, that Olivia had.
Yes, I do.
Did she provide any explanation for any of the injuries to you?
I need to go back up. Sorry, I'm going to go back to her visit real quick. Yeah, she would tell us, I know she told us that some of the older injuries, she said that one happened when Olivia was around 2 years old, that she hit her mouth on the side of the tub and lost one of her front teeth. That she had been playing with a toy, I believe, and hit her mouth. She said that Olivia's arm got caught in a door and that's why it was swollen. She said that I believe that Olivia hit her head on a door frame. And also bumped her head on the side of a stroller. That she's bumped her head on a corner of a wall. She said that she found Olivia on the floor between the chair and a table, and she had gotten a big bump. She said that Olivia got scratched from screws between the age of 2 and 3. She said that she fell and hit her head on a bed frame and her head swelled, and that she thought her head was going to explode. She said that Olivia took a bath and slipped and hit her head on the side of the tub. I think I already said that. Sorry.
That's okay.
I believe that's all.
Okay.
There's a few times.
When you were looking for the Miss Briones before Olivia was taken off of child support or life support. Did you talk to her mother, Aurora Cardona?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Miss
No.
Cardona?
Please, I'm sorry. I did not.
Okay,
I did not talk to her before Olivia was taken off of life support. I talked to her afterwards.
okay. I would direct you back to, well, actually, this is a medical record. But digital page 220, where you were before.
Okay, let me go find
Under the death note.
it. Give me just a second. Okay,
The very last line under that section says MOC cannot be located and maternal grandmother wishes to not be involved. Is that what you see there?
oh, I'm on the wrong page. That's why, sorry.
I think it reads page 1 of 35 in the medical records, but it's actually page 220 of the.
Okay, yes, I do see it.
Okay. So someone spoke to the mom. It just wasn't you. The mother of Jessica. It just wasn't you.
I don't know. I'm assuming so.
Okay. And are you aware that Dr. Picorni with the initial trauma team that day was the one who initially took her medical history, where she said that she had heard Olivia vomiting while she was sleeping and waited hours before checking on her? Were you aware of that?
I was not. Or at least I don't recall if I was or not at that time.
And then were you aware that Dr.
Yes.
Gep?
I apologize. Is this from this record?
No.
Well, then I object to that as improper, Judge. That's just rank hearsay that they're trying to put into this case.
All right, that'll be overruled.
Were you aware, well, let me see if I can find the note in here.
Can I have parties approach, please? All right, State, that's your next question.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Defense?
Just a couple more questions, ma'am. You tried calling, and believe me, I'm in no way faulting your efforts to contact Jessica, but you tried calling her and you went to her apartment, correct?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Okay, and were you aware that the police had her cell phone and her keys?
No, sir, I don't work for the police.
Okay, and why did you find it important to contact Jessica to get her over there?
Because I didn't want Olivia to die without somebody with her that knew her.
And did the doctors tell you that there was some emergency that she had to be taken off life support right then?
No, sir, they didn't tell me that why they needed to take her off.
Okay. Whatever the notes say about that there was concern initially with those injuries that Olivia had when she went to, what was it, Children's? Was that the record we were looking at? The ones where that I read to you from, right? I'm sorry, I'll pull it up.
I'm sorry, is that I don't know if you're asking me or if you know.
Well, so what I'm asking you is, whatever their concerns were, they did not ultimately report that to CPS, correct?
Like I said, there was no CPS history or criminal history when I received my referral. I can't speak to what other people did or didn't do.
Okay, and in your experience at CPS, first off, do you know the penalties for a mandatory reporter failing to report child abuse?
Objection relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Okay, has it been your experience that mandated reporters just forget to report child abuse?
Objection, speculation, and relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained.
It's not speculation, Judge. I'm asking her experience.
I sustain the objection. Next question.
That's it, Judge. Pass the witness.
State.
Just briefly, Ms. Burton, in addition to the records that are in front of you, you did personally consult with medical staff at University Hospital as well, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And would that include the initial trauma team?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no further questions.
Pass the witness, Judge.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Excuse from the state, Your Honor.
Subject to recall, Judge.
All right, the rule has been invoked. Make sure you're available by Zoom if either party needs to recall you. You're not allowed to speak with anyone except for attorneys for the state and attorneys for the defense. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our break at this time. We're going to come back at 1:30. I'm hoping that everyone can stay late today. My understanding is that the cases presented both by state and defense will conclude today. I anticipate that we'll have closing arguments on Friday. So I'm hoping everyone is available to stay late. Yes, we'll see where we are. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, everyone. You're not allowed to discuss or deliberate amongst yourselves. Make sure your badges are displayed. If you see anyone talking about this case or hear anything about this case, walk away, turn it off. No investigation. Everything you need to know about this case will come from inside the court.